Help. Right, Allied Impulse. So I think I'm going to play this. I just drew this last turn. Um, I did start thinking at first, was that now a waste by putting these two roadblocks where I could deploy these two units possibly. Well, one wouldn't, that's just above the line, but there's a couple of problems with that. There's a 9th armoured unit already on the board here. Now the deployment rules are, the main one's very similar to what the Germans had before, when we were playing as the Germans. I know I'm going to keep saying that, and some of you might not have watched that, but I guess I'm having to sort of go that way with my thinking. Right, where are we at? Allied reserve deployment, yeah. So it's within the unit's core area, in a road hex or supply head, at least 3 hexes away from a non-isolated German unit, or 2 hexes if it's a map edge, not in or adjacent to a hex occupied by a German detachment marker, so that's a slight difference. You'll see how they start working soon. I've had the games I had in the past, I had some difficulty with them. I ran out of the markers, so I'm curious to know if I was doing something wrong. I remember asking about it, and nobody else seemed to have that problem, so it feels like I might have been putting them down not in the correct way, but we'll see when we come to that. And then within 3 hexes of a unit in the same division, if not possible the same corps, if not possible the same army. And then if they're coming in the same division, they've got to go in the same hex. So it's very similar to what we had before. So the 2 units we've got are 2 9th armoured units, and they are from the same division, obviously. So if I'd done that, I would have to put them within 3 of this unit here. So they're going to be way down the bottom of the map. And I would have to put them both in the same hex. However, there is, I mentioned before, an alternative reserve deployment, which is strategic reserve deployment. So it says an Allied reserve unit with a printed entry date marked with an S, which these units are, or whose printed entry date is earlier than the current date, is considered an Allied strategic reserve. So anything you had in the box, it was a day, at least a day previous to what day you were on, would class as that, or anything with an S in the symbol. And it's much easier to deploy these. You're not restricted so much. So such a unit may be deployed by the standard method described, which I've just described to you, or may alternatively be placed in any valid friendly supply head road hex in the unit's core boundary. So it's got to be in the boundary still. It's got to be in a supply head. And then it needs to be at least 5 hexes away from all enemy units and enemy towns and cities, excluding isolated German units. And it said this distance is reduced to 2 hexes if placing unit in a map edge hex. Now that's it. There's no, it's got to be within 3 of a corps or a division or anything like that. So, yeah, the restriction is it needs to be 5 hexes away from a German unit, whereas the normal procedure would just be 3. But it then allows me not to have to deploy it close to this unit, within 3 of this unit. So I can actually deploy it up here somewhere, you know, or, you know, and here away from that unit. Now I was just wondering there, 7.2 now, does 7.2 apply? Still. That is, because they're both from the same division, do they still have to go in the same hex if they're strategically deployed? I'm thinking as they probably do. 7.2. Hang on. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. You're still deploying the units, and 7.2 says that units from the same division entering as reserves in the same impulse must be placed in the same hex. So yeah, they would have to be going in the same hex. I kind of thought I might be getting away with that not being the case. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's have a wee think of where we're going to put them then. Okay, what I think I might do is maybe place a 1, 2, 3, 4. That hex is 5 away. Maybe there. Or possibly there. Hopefully, unfortunately, it's only 4 away from that German unit, so I don't think it really matters which one. My thinking being that when I then activate them in the future, bring one down to Bastogne and bring one up into Vale Sam. St Vith, I've got these 18 core units there, and I think I'm going to try and bring them back across the river. So hopefully we might be able to get something into St Vith. We've still got the roadblock there to help us just now anyway. So, but that'll only sit there for so long, probably until the 58 core activate. So it doesn't matter what hex. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go for them here. So I'm going to deploy them both there. So they're on a supply road. They're in the core boundary. It's that line south. And I'm deploying them strategically because they've got an S on there. And so all they need to be is 5 away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from a German unit. Yeah, let's just go with that. To be honest, I've not really got a clue. Well, I know what I'm trying to be doing is just try and put bumps in the roads to stop the Germans. So, yeah, it's probably not a stupid plan. I mean, this probably wasn't stupid either. I mean, the downside is if I move one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into Vale Sam, then that roadblock just goes away. But a unit there is better than the roadblock because I've already said to you all the Germans do by roadblock is activate and it just goes away. So they can't do that if it's a unit. They're going to have to battle it, you know. Okay, let's go with that, and we'll see if things go horribly wrong. Like I say, I haven't played the Allied solo for a long time. You know, I'd played the German solo not long before doing the recording, so I haven't played this for a long time. Well, it must have been, I think that post I made that I was telling you about, I think that was probably that. So I say a long time, it was about a year ago, I suppose that's kind of a long time. So, you know, this could go horribly wrong and we might just get crushed. If that was to happen, and if the game happened to end soon, then I might just start again because then I'll have the rules all down to a T. Yeah, right. Okay, so I can draw a fresh card. So it's 8 core primary card this time. It's got raise the alarm on it as well. So I've got a couple of raise the alarms. So obviously it must be the 12 core. Did you get the 12 core? You must do because there's 2 in the reserve units box. We've got 1 card left to draw, so it must be something to do with the 12 core. I think I would probably have preferred that now. But I think my next impulse might be to do something with the 18. Possibly activate them and possibly move them. The downside is the whole we can only move non-mechanised units 1 hex, can't we? On saying that, both of them are adjacent to the river, so they're probably only going to be able to make, well, no, I suppose there's a bridge there. Okay, going on, Grant, going on. Okay, right, that's my impulse over, so let's see if we can get something a wee bit more interesting for the Germans to do this time. Okay, let's see what we're going to draw. So we draw 2 cards. Right, no primary as well, we worked that one out before, didn't we? We're not getting any today. So it's the same again, this is a 2 and this is a 1. Right, I've had the camera paused for a few hours since I put these cards out. I'm pretty sure this is the last thing I've done. I just drew the two cards. And this one's the command card, this one's the support card, just based on their command values. Okay, so we look at the support card again first, see if it's got an event. It does have an event, which is Commandos, which I just had a wee glance at, and I'm not too chuffed about that. Commandos is discard the top card from the allied draw pile. We have one card in the draw pile, but also, if exhausted, discard a card of your choice from your hand. I think I would have preferred that because, well, I'm going to have to discard the last card. Oh, okay, it isn't anything to do with 12 core, so maybe that isn't so bad. Okay, I'm not missing anything there, am I? Right, there is, 12 core cards come in on the 17th, so we're just assuming, I mean, we could have brought some of them, well, we still could bring a couple of the units in from the reserve units box with a raise the alarm in it. I think I could bring them in, so I guess that's what it is. So we're having to discard this. Yeah, maybe that's actually not too bad because it's combat tactics screen. Mind you, screen can be kind of annoying. And we've got the 5 core card in our hand, so the commander's event discards that. Anyway, that's what happens, and then because we've been able to play the event on this card, that gets discarded, and then we go back to this card, the command card, and we try and write the special event Eisenhower hesitates is only on the 17th. Replacement points are between the 20th and 29th, so activate all units in the core. Right, and let's make sure we've got the colour and maybe not a good idea to look at the colour of these two core and just look at the numbers. So it's 66 core. So we're going to activate all units in that core. Okay, so here we go. This time we're going to see some things happening this time. So we're going to activate 66 core. It's just these 3 units here. So the procedure starts with, we'd remove allied roadblock markers adjacent to active German units. Like I said, I think I said that before, so there's no rolling of dice, so if they happen to have one of these units adjacent here, this would just get removed. And then we have to check the location of the objective marker for the army to which the active units belong, relocating it if required. Well, we've not done any of this yet, so I'll try and give you some idea of what we're talking about here. Okay, so each German army, out of the 3 armies, you've got the 5th Panzer Army, 6th Panzer Army and the 7th Army, they all need an objective marker, and that just guides them towards that area. It's randomised a little bit, and when it reaches the first objective it's randomised again, then the second objective is randomised to a third objective, and then some other things happen, but it's just some way for them to head, and then some of the movement conditions will guide it towards their objective marker. So because we've not placed, this is the 5th Panzer Army, and we've not placed an army objective marker yet, but on top of that, each army, there's one core in each army that has a specific core army objective, and oddly enough it's 50 the 66 Corps that is part of the 5th Panzer Army that has this core objective marker. I don't want to go looking up Board Game Geek, and I'm pretty sure this was whether it was a question I asked or just maybe something I thought about. I don't think there's any mention of when you first, if you don't have an objective set up for that army, you've got to set it up right away. But this is a core, and it gets its own core marker set up as well. But because the army's not been set up yet as well, I think we do both of these. That's the way I feel. I don't think it's really quite explained in the rules. Hang on a sec, just in case I'm getting things wrong. Yeah, just at a quick glance here, it's like if the objective's not on the map for the army, I'm talking about the army here, then we roll a dice to find out where it goes. But if you look further, that's within 9.11. But 9.13 is placing and removing a core objective marker, which is what this one is. And it basically says upon activating a German core for the first time, place a core objective marker. So we're doing a bit of both here. We're activating this 5th Panzer Army for the first time. We're also activating this core for the first time. So it seems like you just do both. I'm pretty sure I was a wee bit like, and I don't know if there was questions out there or not, but I'm not going to go looking for them. I'm going to put this up, just do it as this. It seems like it's logical to do it this way. So let's set up the 5th Panzer Army objective marker then. So we have to roll a die, and basically there's 3 different places it can go on the first objective. There's a wee table here. I'm not going to try and show you that. On a roll of 1 to 6, it'll be Houffalize, and it'll be the west. Now the 5th Panzer Army have a west, a north, and a south, whereas the 6th and the 7th have a west and they only have the 2. So this is the one that has 3, because it's the one that's in the middle, I suppose. So we could go Houffalize west, Bastogne north, and Vilsam west. That's the 3 options. So I'm going to just roll the dice off camera. So we're rolling on the 5th Panzer Army. Yeah. Roll the dice, see what we get. Okay, we've got a 3. So a 3 is between 1 and 6. So it's Houffalize west. So we take this one. Oh, that's right, we were trying to put it. We'll put that up there a bit. Although we don't need this one for now anyway. So that's going to go with the west side up, and that'll the fact that it's west will determine certain things as we go along. It's nothing. It doesn't affect anything at the moment. I don't think. Yeah. So there's obviously a different condition might happen when this is on the map. So if we activate a 5th Panzer Army unit again after this, we need to look at the instruction. The objective is on the map, and depending on how close we are to it, might change where that then goes. But we'll get around to that. But this actual core marker, we need to place this as well. So let me just check this. So we place it in the hex indicated on the back of the marker. Right, okay, so it just has a hex number in the back here. So it's 1106. So we place that in 1106. Is that on the camera? Yeah. So that goes there. So this is our army objective, but this is a specific core objective. And this core concentrates on that until, well, I'll briefly tell you until, if there's no allied unit within 3 hexes of this objective, then we remove that objective from the game, and then it concentrates on the army objective. I think that's right. And like I said, there's only 3. There's 1 core in the 5th, 1 core in the 6th, and 1 core in the 7th that have the core objective markers. It's the smaller cores. I mean, the 1st SS, the 47th, they don't have that. They're just going for their army objective. But it's the smaller cores that have these. So they concentrate on that. So they've got some slightly different rules regarding their movement and what they do, because they're more concerned with this rather than this. Until be probably quite, a few days will have to go by before this is then. There's no allied units within 3 of that, and then they'll start going west. And these markers, they're just markers to say they don't do anything else. They don't affect allied units. Allied units can be in here, they can be. It's just a direction for how to track where the Germans move to and conduct their actions. So what that now means is I'm still not going to be able to show you the full German movement methods. There's a lot of them, but because we've got a core objective, we're just looking at 9.23, which is moving units with a core objective. Funnily enough. So let's just make sure I'm getting that right. Activations. Yeah, so we've checked the location of the objective marker. It wasn't on the board. We've now placed them. So now we're going to move the units according to the movement methods. Normally in it is 9.2, but because we are using a core objective, it's 9.23. So we check the units in ascending order. Okay, so I'll just read this here because I need to understand it myself. So we're checking them ascending order, which means we're going to check this guy first, then this guy, then this guy. And we have to move each unit toward an allied unit within 3 hexes of the core objective marker, entering a hex adjacent to the unit if possible. And then if more than one allied unit is an eligible target, move towards the nearest, then the easternmost. And then if able to reach more than one hex adjacent to an allied unit, move to a hex that would cause the allied unit to become surrounded, then to an unoccupied hex, then to the easternmost hex. Okay, let me try and get my head around that. Okay, just started looking through some of the movement, and although we're only doing the core objective movement, I was glancing at some of the other stuff, and I'm remembering how tough this can get. It's starting to bring back some memories about certain things. Probably a good idea for me to open up my questions from the past and find out the things that were concerning me, because I found that when you play it again, you forget about the answers that you've been given, and you just look at the rulebook again and you start scratching your head. However, well, this, I think seems a bit more straightforward. He says confidently, not. Okay, so I've to move this unit towards an allied unit within 3 hexes, the core objective. Okay, so there's like there's 3 allied units within 3 of this. Okay, but it says if there's more than 1 allied unit, move towards the nearest, then the easternmost. Well, this is not only the nearest, it's the easternmost as well, but it's the nearest because he's adjacent, so I don't consider these two. This is my target. I was hunting about to see if you might try and move to a different hex, but I kind of thought there was something here, but I could be thinking about the German solo rather than the Allied solo. So what I'm going to just say is this guy doesn't move. He's not going to move. He's going to stay there. And then the same thing's going to happen with this guy. He's already adjacent. He's going to stay here. So this guy is going to move. And I'm still going to double check this because I'm not 100% sure that they would just sit in that hex. You know, potentially this could move out and in. For instance, this could move to here and then here. So, or well, actually no, he couldn't get into there, but he could get into this hex if he wanted to, and he's still adjacent to the nearest allied unit. So I might just look over the rules just to make sure I'm getting that right. But this guy does want to move. So what's his nearest? So that's 2 hexes away. That's 2 hexes away. So they're both the same. So if more than one, nearest then easternmost. So that's this guy here. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find out about the. Oh, I did talk about try to surround them, didn't I? Where is that? Yeah, it's the next part at 9.24. Tactical adjustments when moving adjacent to allied units. These adjustments apply to all movement methods in which a German unit is moving adjacent to an allied unit and take priority over instructions on a given movement method. Yeah, this is a kind of big kind of rule that I remember having to find out some information about, or not quite getting the gist of things. So anyway, they prefer an unoccupied adjacent hex. If a unit would end its move in a hex occupied by a German unit and adjacent to an allied unit, check to see if the unit could reach an unoccupied hex adjacent to the same allied unit. If so, move to the unoccupied hex. So this is what we're seeing here. Although this is the unit he wants to become adjacent to, he's not necessarily going to just move to here. He's wanting to try and get an unoccupied. Oh, try and flank the guy, probably. And then there's also prefer adjacent hex is not cross river. If a unit would end its move in a hex adjacent to and across a river from an allied unit, check to see if a hex adjacent to the same allied unit and not across a river is reachable. If so, move there instead. I think this is what I was talking about. Again, apologies if you didn't watch the German solo, where I mentioned about the German units are now, they're trying to get to a position where they can attack from not across the river, which makes sense. But the Allied units in the German solo didn't do that, which I thought was a bit strange, but however. And then a tiebreaker is moving to an unoccupied hex takes precedence over avoiding a cross-river hex. So there you go. So I think possibly the question might have come up. So we're trying to find an unoccupied hex. So let's just say these 2 units are in the same hex and they're trying to do this thing. would they do the same? Because it said if a unit would end its move in a hex so occupied by a German unit and adjacent to an Allied unit, check to see if it could move to another empty hex. I think that's maybe where some of the confusion cropped up. I think you're going to have to go and look this up, Grant, and see what's been talked about. But however, that's not the case we're in. At the moment, we're more than likely going to come into this hex here, I would think. Right, back to this. I'm afraid I had to leave that last night, so just try to catch up again. I didn't get back to the table. So we were moving these. This one wasn't going to move because it's adjacent. I think it was a bit of me wondering about possibly trying to move these units to a different hex. Well, there is nothing to say that. If they're adjacent already, if they're moving adjacent, then they will pick a different hex. The certain priorities they'll choose. If they're already adjacent to an Allied unit, that's it. They're not going to move, unless it was some other movement method that said that. But we might get to that. But at the moment, we're moving each of these units towards an Allied unit, and we're picking the nearest unit. So this one's nearest, so he's not going to move. He's not going to move. This guy is going to move, and we're right in saying that he wants to surround. He wants to get into. If he can reach more than one hex adjacent to an Allied unit, move to a hex that would cause the Allied unit to become surrounded, then to an unoccupied hex, then to the easternmost. So he can't get into this hex. He can't quite get right around to that hex, but he can go 1, 2. He can get into that hex, and that was his target because they were both within 2, and this was easternmost. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now that's all the movement with the 3 units. Now they do. It was a errata that came out clarifying this. They are bound by the restrictions in 9.21 as well, and these are when you're trying to move adjacent to an Allied unit. Well, it says move adjacent to an Allied unit if not already adjacent to an Allied unit. So it wouldn't affect these 2 guys because they were already adjacent, but it would affect this guy. And the restrictions are, there's 4 of them, A, B, C, D. Do not move a unit starting adjacent to a VP hex occupied by Allied unit with strength 5 or... we'll get into that. The other B is do not move a unit if doing so will cause a currently surrounded Allied unit to become no longer surrounded. Okay, makes sense. Do not move a unit out of a town, city or west wall hex, leaving the hex vacant. If doing so would result in Allied supply being traceable to the hex. So that's well, that's a point actually, because that is a town he's just left, isn't it? Yeah, do not move a unit out of town, city or west wall hex, leave the hex. If doing so would result in Allied supply being traceable to the hex. Yeah, so he's left this town, so if for some reason we could trace Allied supply to this hex, then he wouldn't have moved out of that because that would have restricted him. But Allied supply can't be traced to that. The German lines all got that covered. And the last one is do not move if doing so would create a condition in which Allied supply is traceable to an empty German town, city or west wall hex. So it's similar, but say he wasn't leaving a town, but he was leaving a gap that the Allies could then trace through into a town or a west wall hex. Yeah, but none of that applies here. But we do have to keep that in mind even when we're doing the core objective movement. Okay, so we've moved all the units. So what do we do next? Well, we consider making an attack, I think. So let me see here. Okay, yeah. So now we're going to determine if they do make an attack. I probably should have spoke about this. We're going through the German activation sequence. And step 1 is remove roadblock markers. Step 2 is relocate the army objective or place it if you're not already. Then we get to move from the 17th, detachments come into it. And then step 4 is to do with detachments as well. It doesn't start till the 18th and the 21st. Then step 5 is conduct attacks with units meeting attack requirements. So, which is procedure D in 9.5. So let's look at that. Okay, so we're going through 9.5, German attack determination. So it says all active units could possibly be eligible to attack. Well, they are eligible to attack even if they've moved. So we check them in ascending order. So we're going to check Unit 1 first. Yeah, so we've got to check each active unit with at least 2 steps. So that's one that can sometimes catch you out. So it's got to have at least 2 steps to be eligible. And then we check them in ascending numerical order to determine if that German unit will attack. Right. The unit being checked is referred to as the lead unit. When checking if the lead unit will attack, include the strengths of the following additional units. So we include all other active units that have not yet attacked in the current activation and are adjacent to the target hex, including units with just 1 step. So now you would consider them if they've got 1 step. So we've got this unit as well. So these 2 are obviously. Now this is where I didn't mention it, but you would also include all active German reserve units that could legally be placed in hexes. So this is how the units can be in the reserve units box and suddenly make an appearance in this combat. We've no units in the reserve units box at the moment anyway, but that's kind of how the reserves work totally different. And at the end of combat, if certain units don't move at the end of the activation, they can move from the map to the reserve units box. It's interesting how it works. So we've no reserves anyway, so we'll ignore that one. And then it says if the support card shows the assault coordination combat tactic include all non-active German units adjacent to the defender. Well, we've not got a support card, but this is within a combat. The support card could now be used as a combat tactic, but we don't have one, so we'll see that happening as well. So once a group of units eligible for potential attack has been identified, calculate the situational strength ratio. There's an exception if all defending units of the attack are isolated, immediately conduct the attack. Okay, so we've determined that they're the 2 units that are going to attack, so we've got to calculate this situational strength ratio now. So this situational strength is slightly different. It's pretty similar to what we had before. Again, I'm going back to the German solo, but so you'd half the strength of all German units that would be attacking across a river. You'd double the strength of Allied units defending in a city, and then you add or subtract from the following. So if this is the defending unit. So if the defending unit's in a forest, you get +1. An improved position, you get +1. Adjacent to a supplied Allied unit, it would get +1. I think that's different to what we had before that one. And clear terrain is a -1, and dispersed or low supply or out of supply, that's a -1 as well. So I think it's exactly that. Well, it's the same apart from the adjacent to supplied Allied unit. I don't think you used to have that one. Doesn't ring a bell with me anyway. And the minimum situational strength is 1. And we're only using this to determine if the attack's eligible or not. That's all we're doing. So the strength of the Germans is 7 against 3. This unit is not benefiting from anything. It's not clear. It's a broken hex, isn't it? So it's not losing anything there. It's not got an adjacent supplied unit, so it's not benefiting there. So it's 7 against 3. So the odds are 2 to 1. So then we go, we check. Now, if it's equal to or greater than 4 to 1, or if all defending units are isolated, we go ahead with attack. Well, that's not the case. If it's less than 3 to 1, and all attacking units are in low supply, the attack is cancelled. Well, that's not the case. If it's less than 1 to 1, the attack is cancelled. And then if the ratio is at least 1 to 1 and less than 4 to 1, we're going to roll a die and then add certain modifiers and consult the marginal attack table to determine if the attack is conducted or is cancelled. Okay, so hang on a sec. Okay, so there's a big table here that says if you'll cancel. Basically, the lower number that they roll on the dice, the more chance they've got of the attack going ahead. The modifiers, you subtract 1 from the die result for each of the following that apply. If it's the 16th of December, you get a -1. So it is. So we're going to have that. The attackers include elite units and the defender has no elite units. Well, that's not the case. These are wine, but this unit's green. Attackers activated by an army or army group card. That's not the case. And the support card shows applicable combat tactic. Well, that's not the case either. We don't have a support card. So we're going to roll a dice with a -1. Just try and show you this one. So, like I say, the lower number, the more chance they're going to attack. Oh, well, there you go. That's reasonably low. So it's a 3, but it's modified to a 2. So the instruction under a 2 is we would cancel if less than 1.5 to 1, or the defender is in a non-VP town. And that's not the case. So cancel less than 1.5 to 1. Well, we had 2 and a bit to 1, so it's going to go ahead. Okay. Okay, so we jump ahead to 12.0, which is a combat sequence. Germans are attacker. You are the defender. Okay. So step 1 is draw 1 German card and apply its combat tactic to the combat. Okay, so we'll do that. So I'm going to draw this for the combat tactic. What we got? Press the attack. All that does is adds a chip pool, doesn't it? I believe. Zoom out a little bit there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Press the attack is just adds a chip pool, unless of course it's draw 1 additional combat chip. Yeah. Okay. So, and then if the combat tactic on the German support card, if any, differs from the drawn combat tactic and you would benefit the German attack, apply it as a bonus combat tactic. Well, we've not got that. There's also an exception if you've got an overwhelming German attack, which I think is if you've got 9 to 1 odds, I think, but we'll come across that if it happens. There's a wee bit, I seem to remember a bit where would benefit the German attack. I think the words you need to look at, there's a description of what the benefits could be, because sometimes you don't use the card. Anyway, we don't have a support card, so always getting is press the attack. So then we would add active German reserve units to the combat. Well, I've already said there's no reserve units. Now, we may play 1 or more cards as combat tactics against the attack. 1 or more. Okay. If you play the reinforced battle combat tactic, you may move an allied unit into the defender's hex per the combat tactic description. Okay, so one or more cards. Okay. That doesn't ring a bell to me as well, but mind you, you've not got many cards to like be dealing with. Okay, I'll have a wee look, because I think we've got the core artillery, so that might be tempting. Mind you, my draw pile's empty now. Give me a sec. Okay, I do have 3 options here. I could play the core artillery. Now remember, December 16th, we can't play artillery, but we can play the core artillery card. And that is this one I showed you before, and normally this would bounce back to, well, sorry, it wouldn't bounce back to your hand, it would go in your draw pile rather than discard it. But it doesn't, if the draw pile's empty, you just discard it. But I could still play it for core artillery. I could also play, I've got this for tank battalion, which would give me 1 extra strength. That would mean his odds would not be 2-1 anymore, and we would have armour in the battle. So that's a good option too. And finally, we've got engineers, which we can use because he's in, yeah, he's not in a town or anything like that, so which would place an IP on him. So 3 options, and like it says, which I wasn't aware of, to be honest, that you can play, you may play 1 or more cards as combat tactics against the attack. Yeah, doesn't say there's a restriction, so I suppose potentially I could play all 3 of the cards. So yeah, what am I going to play though? I feel like I should play something. Yeah, okay, I almost decided. The fact I've got both the core cards for the 18th. I thought about playing this for engineers just to give them an extra, an extra point to absorb hit wise an IP. Then I started thinking, I do actually probably want this guy to go that way. I was talking about actually making the move that way. I mean, I don't want me to retreat twice and become dispersed, obviously, but I don't mind so much if he retreats. And I know this is over a river, but this is only hex he could retreat to. So, so I'm not sure I should. I mean, that's playing it a bit risky, though, isn't it, Grant? Yeah, I actually do think it is. So I'm actually going to play this. I'm going to play this for engineers. So we get an IP on the unit. I won't bother putting the marker underneath. I'll just put the green cube on because there's a good chance that it might get removed anyway. So not sure if that's what you guys would have done or not there. I mean, I've only got 3 cards left in my hand now, so the Germans still have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've got 9 cards left. I mean, they go through 2 cards at least 2 cards a turn. Yeah, we did lose that card to the Commandos event before, didn't we? I wonder if maybe I shouldn't do this. Well, give me a sec. Maybe I'm not going to do that. Okay, so I've been away for a few hours. So you'd think I'd have made my decision on whether I'm going to play that or not. So I had to come back and find out where I was. Yeah, the fact I've only got 4 cards left. There probably need to be more important decisions than that. And like I've said, knocking that guy back. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could I could regret it if that IP mattered. But I don't think they're getting. They're only going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 chip pools, maybe. I think, unless things change up a bit. Yeah, I've yet to look ahead on that. Right, okay, let's just say we're not going to play a combat tactic. So that was step 3. So now draw combat chits from the combat chit cup, maximum. Yeah, I need to look at 12.4 just to double check. That's how many chits we're going to get. Pretty sure it's the same as, again, I'm obviously going to compare it with the other system, the German solo. So here we go, +1 for every combat tactic. No, sorry. Right, hang on, what am I saying here? The minimum draw is going to be number of steps in defending units. So that's the same. So the minimum is going to be 2. Well, I suppose we should do our... Let's get the odds sorted first and we'll have a look at that in a minute. So it's 7 against 3. So they're getting 2 to 1 odds. Yeah, 2 to 1 odds. And then, well, let's just check. Maximum draw. Attacking units with non-bracketed combat strength. So that's 1, 2, and then +1 for every combat tactic. Now, I think this has been queried before. I don't ever think it came up in my German solo game because it's not a combat tactic I tend to play. But it was queried, you get 1 for every combat tactic you play, so some folk thought, maybe I did sort of consider it myself, this press the attack gives you 1 extra combat chit, so do you get 1 for that and 1 for the actual playing of the combat tactic? But it was confirmed that no, it's just 1, you get an extra 1. So they're going to get a +1 for that, +1 for elite units they've not got, +1 for each unit with 3 or 4 steps. Yes, they've got. So at the moment we've got 1, 2, +1 for that, +1 for that. So that's 4. +1 if defender is out of supply, +2 if defender is isolated, -2 if the screen combat tactic is in effect for the allied defender. So that's it. So it's just the same. Yeah. Okay, so 1, 2, 1 for the 4-step unit and 1 for the combat tactic. There's 4. So there we go. And it's a minimum of 2. Yeah, okay, so just had to check. There's it starts talking about when the allies are attacking. Well, of course I'm looking at just combat here. When the allies are attacking, and once you've drawn the minimum number, you may choose to stop there or draw any number of additional chits up to the maximum allowed. You must choose the total number you will draw prior to drawing any. So it's exactly the same. If the allies, if I'm attacking them, the minimum would be whatever the steps are, and then the maximum is whatever I choose. But I've got to choose it there and then draw them. And then it states when the Germans are attacking, draw the maximum number of chits allowed. So they're not going to mess about. They're just going to, whatever that number is, that's what they're going to draw. They're not going to stop, or there's not going to be break-off scenarios or anything like that this time. Which makes me wonder why. What's the reason? Why would the minimum make any difference then to them? Hang on. Yeah, okay. I can only assume there's nothing to state why that is, apart from the obvious that if it was the allies that were attacking, they would draw 2. Well, let's just say the roles were reversed here, and this was us attacking them. We would draw the minimum of 2, and then we would be able to then choose if we draw either, or if we stop there, or if we draw 3 or 4 chits, because the maximum would be 4. But for the Germans, basically I can just draw 4 chits because they're not going to stop, they're just going to draw the maximum. So I'll get 4 chits, and I did. I've got my nice fresh set of chits, all clipped and all punched, clipped, and they look great. So let's hope they're kind to us. Okay, so I'll get 4 chits, and obviously we are the defender here, so we don't want to see D hits. We don't mind seeing A hits and D minus hits, but we don't want to see D hits. Okay, I'll get 4 chits. Okay, there we go. There's the 4 chits, and wow, look at them. Wow, I should have broke them out a long time ago. Look at them compared to what I had. Oh, I put the other ones away. It's a shame. I could have chucked one beside it, but they're over in the box, so I'm sure you can remember the state of them anyway. But they look great. Okay. So we got. Yeah, what was this? This was flank attack. This was 5-1 on the front, 3-1 in the back, 7-1 on the front. This was flank attack on the back as well. But they're not flanking, they're just, it would need to be, you know, from, that is right, isn't it? That's not flank. Come on, Grant. Yeah, at least 2 hexes not adjacent to each other would be a flank attack. So this unit would have to be like there, and that would work. So yeah, fortunately that didn't work, and only attacker combined arms is the only hit that he had. He does, this unit's only armoured actually, but he's got infantry along with him, so they've got combined arms and we've just got infantry. And if we had played the tank battalion, we would have avoided that one too. But we've only got the 1 hit, so that's kind of what I was hoping for. So yeah, so it doesn't seem any difference in the attack against us. We can retreat twice to satisfy 2 hits. Then if we retreat the second hit, we've got to become dispersed. And then after that, we need to take the hits as step losses. So, and the retreat priorities are just the same as well, what I can see. I did have a look at this beforehand, so I can't retreat here, that's zone of control. I can't retreat here, that would be in zone of control. So the only hex I can retreat to is here. And normally that's one of the hexes that you wouldn't want to go if you could avoid it, but we can't avoid it. So I'm going to retreat across the river there, and that satisfies that 1 hit, which is, yeah, fine for us. I mean, yeah, it probably doesn't make too much odds, but the Germans will be able to advance into that hex, I suppose. But hey, that's fine. I'm good with that. I mean, if I'd played the engineers, the IP would have been removed and I would have stayed there. But my strategy was to probably activate these units next turn, and that unit probably would have been jumping across the river anyway. And this is a better hex. It's in the forest, it's across that river. I mean, Piper could, well actually can't, can he? Well, yeah, potentially he could go out and in. Anyway, right, Grant, we'll see what happens with that. You can't predict what's going to happen with that. Okay, so just 1 hit, no hits to the Germans, but let's see if they're going to advance. Okay, so it's slightly different actually. Should have done that with that guy just to show that he's, well, he didn't move, but he's made an attack now, so he can't do other things, shall we say. So check units for advance in ascending order. So it's the infantry unit first. Slightly different. It says route of advance forward by primary or secondary route. Well, there's no arrows in this hex at all, so that's not the case. It says or across river and closest to army objective. That's not the case. It's not going across the river. Or into VP hex or enable supply. Well, none of that's applicable. This was a question I noticed I had asked. I was looking back on, I figured I should look back on all my questions. I think I mentioned that. Not the worst idea to print that out actually and have it beside me, because like I say, you ask these questions for a reason, and it's difficult to then go a whole year and remember what the answer to that reason was. So I glanced back over some of them, and one that actually it came back unanswered actually, and it's just came up there just now. We're considering our core objective. Maybe this is picky. We're considering our core objective here, but that says forward by primary secondary route or across a river and closest to army objective. Well, the army objective marker is down here. I don't know, it's maybe just off the map, but so do I consider that, because that is the army objective? And it's not just this that comes up. In advance, I think there's something else that crops up, because I mentioned it in my question. Or do I consider the core objective still, because that's my way to go at the moment. I mean, yes, if it was a case right now, they'd probably both be the same and it wouldn't make any odds, but should I take it as rules as written? Probably should, Martin, shouldn't I? It says army objective, so maybe I shouldn't consider the core objective and I should be looking at the army objective. That's what it says, that's what's written, so possibly, but it's not relevant here, Grant, so let's not bore everybody with that. So the next option is into a town or, oh, well, here we go then. Into a town or closer to army objective. So, and we're talking about, no, we're not talking about this hex, are we? We're talking about this hex, sorry. This is where he was, wasn't it? So interesting, right? What that does bring up. It's not into a town. Is it closer to our? I've got to say it's going to be the core objective, but again, it's going to be the same at the moment. But I'd be curious to know, because I'm sure there could be a time where that might be different. Maybe not. Maybe it's not. But I wish it maybe said, I don't know, army objective or / core objective if you're working under the rules. So, well, at the moment my core objective is 2 away from there. If I move to there, it's 2 away, so it's not closer, so that doesn't count either. So this is another route, and another route for the Germans is no. It's like, doesn't matter if anybody's advanced or not, so there's quite a bit of difference within that compared to the German solo game. Okay, so this guy is not going to advance. This guy, again, we go back, is it his forward or secondary arrow? No, his forward route, he's got an arrow there, which is into this hex, so that's not the case. It's not crossing the river. However, 1, 2, 3, is it into a town or closer to his army objective? Well, yeah, it is this time, because he's 1, 2, 3 away. If he moves into here, he's only 1, 2 away. And again, unless somebody tells me otherwise, I'm going to be looking at this when it says army objective. No, I just said I was going to do the little thing, didn't I? Yeah, and do rules as written. That's what it says, Grant. Okay, well, you know what? We'll make that decision when it becomes relevant. Because again, this is closer to the army objective, and it's closer to the core objective. So we'll let that one go for now, and we'll maybe decide that. But if somebody wants to step in and say it's definitely army objective, or no, you should be considering core objective at the moment until that goes away, then please let me know. Okay, so that's only advance. He only gets to advance one hex because we only retreated the one. Right, so now step back to see if the other unit is eligible to attack, I think. Give me a sec. Yeah, okay. Actually, that combat tactic has now been used, so that's discarded. So now we need to determine if this unit is eligible to attack here. So again, we go through that procedure. So we're checking for situational strength ratio. So he's 4 against 2, so 2 to 1 odds. Not enough for us. He's not adjacent to an allied unit. That's one I'll need to remember because that one I think is new from, or is different from the German solo, shall we say. He's not in a clear hex, so right, there's no change there. So it's 2 to 1 odds. So let's jump down quickly. So again, the ratio is between, it is at least 1 to 1 and less than 4 to 1. So we're going to roll the dice and we're going to modify it again. With just a -1 for December 16, I think. No elite units. No support card. Yeah, so it's a -1, so we'll roll dice. Oh, I've got a 3 again, okay. So, no, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a go again, aren't they? It's exactly the same odds. So, a 3 minus a 1 for being December 16 is cancel if less than 1.5 to 1, or defender in a non-VP town. He is not in a non-VP town, so we're going to attack. So let's get this guy in the position so that we know he's done something. So then we jump forward to 12.0 again. So I'm just trying to follow through the rules here, and hopefully it'll, once it starts sinking in, it'll, mind you, you've seen, well, if you have seen my previous video, I do tend to go over things, and I've said it multiple times, it's how I'm enjoying doing it, so it's going to be slow. If you're not up for that, guys, maybe leave now while you've got the chance. So I think I'm feeling like there's something I've missed here. Don't think so. There's only 1 unit. Is that relevant? No, I don't think so. Well, let's get through this and finish this impulse, and I'd like to try and upload this video, and then I can maybe come back tomorrow, because this is the end of the night tonight, so, or maybe first thing in the morning I can upload it and then see if I get any feedback, see if I'm doing horrendously wrong things. Right, so we're going to draw a card for them again. So they are going through the deck with the attacks, so, oh, it's first SS card. That's probably quite nice to have got out of the way for us. Right, so reinforced battle. So you can reinforce battle. Right, we need to have a look at this. Yeah, okay, right, I'm pretty sure he's going to get some help here. So reinforced battle, select 1 active or inactive stack that did not move or attack in the current activation that could reach the combat in a single movement action to participate in the combat. If defending, it moves into the hex with defending units. That's not the case. If attacking unit stack moves adjacent to the hex under attack and may split up, obey stacking limits. Okay, so yeah, pretty similar, I think, to what we've seen before. Slight difference here, I think. When attacking, a unit is eligible to reinforce a battle if in the same army as at least one attacking unit or already adjacent to the defending units. So there's nobody that's adjacent. So, but these guys are from the 5th Army, and I suppose you could stretch. Right, I'm going to have to zoom out a minute. I'll zoom out just now. You can just catch the 47th Corps here, which are part of the 5th Panzer Army as well. I did when I was initially looking, thinking this guy's got 6 movement. And remember how we had boundaries here that we couldn't move below and above? If you watched again, if you watched the German solo. Well, the Germans don't have that this time. They can move wherever they want. They don't care about that. So all the mistakes I made before with moving them below boundaries, or consider moving them below boundaries, it doesn't matter in this game. But this is the 6th Panzer Army, so it's a 5th Panzer Army units in attack, so they can't come and reinforce. So, and then it says if more than one stack can reach the combat, choose a stack that will not be attacking across a river. Well, there'll not be any of that. Then the stack that will cause an unsurrounded defender to become surrounded. Then the stack with the lowest numbered unit. Units that reinforce a German attack do not advance after combat. Oh, okay. Right, that's not something I had in my mind then. That must have been something. So that's a slight change, because German was so... Sorry for going back there, but just you notice these differences. Were reinforced battle, you could advance after combat. So, but you can't here, so I need to keep that in mind. Right, well, could this unit 1, 2, yeah, you could. Okay, so we need to look at the possibilities here. Okay, I've found a wee question here that's quite interesting. Although I have to feel like I'm not feeling totally comfortable with the rules at the moment, so might be a stupid question. So, okay, the 2 units that I feel that could are this 47 Corps unit. This guy could go 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's going to be in the same hex. So, and this infantry unit could go 1, 2, 3. You could go in the same hex, but you can also go 1, 2, which you would think it would be the better option. But within the reinforced battle, it says if there's more than one stack that can reach combat, choose a stack that will not be attacking across a river. Right, well, I've already said we've not got that. Then the stack that will cause an unsurrounded defender to become surrounded. Well, we're not able to do that with either the units. So then we move on to the next part, and it's then the stack with the lowest numbered unit. Now, fortunately, this is the lowest numbered unit. This is a 15, this is a 4. So it is going to be this unit, but right, okay. So it is that unit. So then I'm just looking at how to move adjacent to an allied unit. And 9.24, I remember referring to this a lot. And you've also got to consider 9.21, because that's the restrictions. And although the very bottom of that says these restrictions apply to every hex of German movement and advance after combat, I'm pretty sure that also means reinforced battle as well. Ooh, that rings a bell. That rings a little bell. You know what? It's still German movement, but I think I've seen that question asked somewhere. So at the moment we'll consider that to be still German movement. So you've got to abide by the restrictions. This unit moving away doesn't. It's not going to mess with any of the restrictions, so that's fine. So sorry, jumping back to 9.24, which is tactical adjustments when moving adjacent to an allied unit. These apply to all movement methods in which a German unit is moving adjacent to an allied unit and take priority over instructions in a given movement method. These adjustments also apply to German units moving via the reinforced battle combat tactic during a German attack, which is what we're doing. So the first one is prefer an unoccupied adjacent hex, and then the second bullet is prefer adjacent hex is not cross river. And then there's a tiebreaker between the two, which says unoccupied hex takes precedence over avoiding the river. Okay. So yeah, I mean we don't need to consider the cross river, but all we're needing to know is where this guy should move. Should he go here or should he go here? And it clearly states that he should go here, because that's the unoccupied hex. So that's where he's going to go. Makes total sense. So his movement is 1, 2. So that's a reinforced battle there. Going back to my question, and just put this guy back just now. Hope I remember where I'm putting them. Let's just say these units were like this. Oh no, that doesn't work, does it? Because he's infantry. Right. Let's just leave them where they are, which is probably safer. Let's just say this unit selector number was 15 and this unit selector number was 4. He would be the lowest numbered unit. Yet the only hex he could reach would be this one stacked with this other unit. And again, I don't know why it's not a question, Grant. It's written in the rules that the priorities are, if more than one stack, choose a stack that will not be attacking across a river, then the stack that will cause an unsurrounded defender become surrounded, then the stack with the lowest numbered unit. So if this was the 4, he would move in there and attack, and they would both attack. So yeah, I don't need to ask that question then. Rules as written. But interesting that the better move is probably taking, if this was the highest selector number, taking him. But as you would maybe do it yourself. But however, I'm not trying to break the AI rules, because again, I think they're fabulous. And the amount of work that must be put into these to make it work is incredible, really. But right, so that's pretty nasty then. So now we've got 8 against 2, haven't we? Yes, indeed. So hang on till I find where it was. Okay, this seems like a really strong choice this time, really, because for 2 reasons. I mean, again, I'm probably wanting to retreat this guy, but this time he's going to have to retreat into here, which isn't terrible as well. But playing tank battalion increases this strength to 3. So at the moment they're 8 against 2, so I've got 41 odds. If I bump that up to a 3, that's only 2 to 1 odds. And they're both infantry, so that would give us armour in the battle as well, which is quite strong. Again, oops. Messing about with counters. The purpose of this card, I suppose, would have been probably to move these 9th armoured units. Where, you know, what I was talking about, 1 into Vilsam, 1 into Bastogne, but so sure. We've got the threat is from this unit. I mean, there's a roadblock in Valsam. Mind you, once this unit gets up to here, we then can't stroll into Valsam, can we? No. And that would have been a better place to have put them because of that. Drat. Just shows you, when you look at some, that would have gave me a bit more time, because if this guy moves up to here, I can't move, but if I was there, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, you can't think of all these things, Grant. So, is it worth it then? Oh man, it's the woods hit, it's not even in the forest, is it? It just seems like that's a good boost, given them armour, and reducing the odds from 4-1 to 2-1. Okay, I've had a think about it, and we've not drawn, assuming there is a, well, obviously not primary cards, but so I'm assuming there's a supplemental core card for these guys. He's going to move to here. He's going to move to this hex, I'm pretty sure. Adjacent to VP hex, it's closer to his army objective. I think that's the one I read. Movement method. Oh, you know what? Whatever it was, 3, I think. So if I don't move the unit, thing is, that's probably what I want to do next turn then, rather than moving the. Yeah, I think I'm going to let it go. I mean, okay, I don't want to lose a unit, but it's a green unit, it's tough to say, but hopefully we can get it retreating. I mean, even if it retreated twice and got across the river here and became dispersed, that wouldn't be awful. Right, okay, I'm going to let it go, and I'm just going to suffer the consequences. So I'm not playing a combat tactic. So, right, we're going to draw combat chits again. Same thing. Minimum, well, we don't need to look at minimum. He's got 1, 2, 1 extra for the 3-step unit is 3. 1 for the combat tactic is 4. I'm not missing anything, am I? Sorry, hang on. Yeah, combat chits, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing elite, no. Okay, so, well, we're just going to draw 4 chits for him again, so I'll get them all. Right, I've drawn the chits here, but I'm just laid the first one. I forgot to put out my usual dice, which I used from way back watching Kurt's videos, and I see he's just joined up to the Facebook page that we've got going with Enemy Action Ardennes. So good to see you around again, Kurt. Hope you're playing the game, and maybe pop in and watch some of my videos. They're a bit long-winded, I know, and maybe you can't understand what I'm saying half the time. But yeah, your videos were what got me right into the game, and eventually encouraged me. I got watch a video. Excuse me. Sorry, a bit of a coughing fit there. Yeah, Kurt's videos are what encouraged me into maybe doing a video myself one day, but it took me a while to get around to it. But I think every time I mean, he didn't do any playthroughs of the Allied solo, which was a shame. That would have been good to watch, but the German solo, I watched through that quite a few times leading up to when I would start playing the game again. I mean, yeah, there was some mistakes made and whatever, but I think he done a good job of showing the game and how it comes around and whatever. Yeah, it was good. And like I say, I've usually watched a few of the videos before starting to play the game again when I've been maybe away from it, just to bring me back on the rules. But like I say, you never played an Allied solo, so if you had done that, Kurt, I maybe wouldn't be struggling along here, wondering what I'm doing. Anyway, yeah, he obviously used dice for odds and chip pools, and that made sense, and I thought that was a great idea. So, yeah, but I forgot to do it this time. So we've got 8 against 2, yeah, nothing changed. So 41 odds. And, well, the chip pools we said before, which I'm pretty sure is right. 1, 2, 3, combat tactics 4. Yeah. So I've drawn the 4 chits. That was the first one that came out. And before putting the other 3 out, I've not looked at them yet, but before putting them out, I thought I should get the odds up there just so we know what's what. I'm going to enjoy some of these coming along, get my revenge. Well, it won't be for a few days yet. I don't think they kick into about the 19th, 20th, maybe 19th, maybe. Okay, I'll chuck the other 3 chits up, they're out, and we'll see what's what. Okay, so there we go. I can zoom in a little bit. 5 to 1. This was 9 to 1 on the front. 4 to 1 does apply, so that's one we wouldn't have had if we had played the Tank Battalion. And this is 5th Panzer Army, and needs to have the majority. I think you need to have at least half units. Anyway, they're both 5th Panzer Armies that's attacking, so we don't need to go and double check the rule. Allied air power's on the back of that one as well, so I want to remember. So yeah, D2, which is a bit annoying. We would only have D1 if we had played it. Mind you, we did say why not get across the river. We're going to be dispersed though, so okay, let me think. Yeah, I guess we do retreat twice and disperse. It's maybe not terrible. I mean, the annoying thing was we're going to be in there, and we were talking about activating that core the last time, and if I was in there and I'm only allowed 1 movement, I could have popped into St. Vith, but I'm going to be dispersed, so yeah. The good thing is both infantry units, so they're not going to be able to advance twice. So yeah, I'm going to take that. So we have to advance into that hex, because that one's zone of control, that one's zone of control. So we got to go in there, and then retreating again. Well, we're not allowed to go in there anyway, so yeah, it is this hex we go into. So we retreat twice, we take a dispersal. So that's, yeah, well, I suppose the plus is if we do activate that core, that will remove that dispersal. Yeah. I think I'm probably going to go back though, and since I've realised that that this unit moving up to Vilsam, I think I'm probably going to activate the 8 core and get Vilsam, get a unit in Vilsam. admittedly, then he could push up towards St. Vith. Yeah, what can you do? You can't do everything, right? You can't do everything. Okay, so 2 hits to me. No hits to them. Right, let's see if I can get this sorted out. God, this video's going on far too long, isn't it? And this was just a small core we're activating to okay. Yeah, I've still got to advance after combat, haven't I? Right. Where are we here? Yeah, okay. So, lowest numbered unit. Oh, they're both 4s. Oh, for goodness sake. It goes to core, doesn't it? Give me a sec. Okay, I can't see. I just glanced at the rulebook, but I had a feeling that maybe not have a tiebreaker between them because they're both unit selector number 4. There is a rat to clarify that if you come across, if you can, last resort tiebreakers it's called. If a choice unit remains after applying all tiebreakers, choose a unit with the lowest selector number, then the lowest core number. If a choice of hex remains after applying all tiebreakers, choose the lowest numbered hex. So lowest core number, I think. And sorry if I'm jumping ahead there, but it's getting late. I don't think there is any in there though. So the lowest core number. Well, what have we got here? Oh, goodness sake. Right, 66, and we've got 58. So the 58 is the lowest core. So we need to look at him first. Let me see, I bet he's not even going to advance. Where are we? Is it forward? No, because both of them don't have any arrows in their hex. Crossover, VP hex, no. Right, is it into a town or closer to army objective? Right, well for this unit that is no, because that's going backwards. These army objectives, alright, I'll zoom out and show the bigger picture, or show you what's happening. Don't know the rule book there, but I might as well use the map while I can at the moment. Yeah, his army objective is here. So him moving there is moving back a hex. So that's not the case. So that's another route for him. So that's a no. This unit doesn't have arrows, but moving into that. Let me just look at this. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. If he was there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh well, there you go. There's a question right there then. Right, I brought it up right away because the second part of route of advance is into a town or closer to army objective. Well, this unit at the moment is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hexes away from its army objective. It's only 2 hexes away from its core objective. If it moves here, advances after combat is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's not any closer to its army objective, but it's closer to its core objective. So there we go. There's a question right there then. And well, like what did I say I would do? Rules as written, army objective. That's that one. That's the core objective. So well, that's maybe a nice place to leave it and finish. So that means that it would be another route, and this guy wouldn't advance as well. Going by rules as written, but there is some concern to me that he should be considering that rather than his army objective. Okay, actually, that seems to ring a bell. Quick look at the rules here. Okay, you know what, I'm not going to go and look at it yet. There's something that triggered there saying that I'd read something about, I feel like when it says army objective, and you have a core objective, you consider core objective. Now, I could be wrong with that, I might just be making that up, but it kind of rang a wee bell there. So I want to get this video finished though. I want to get this part finished so I can post it up and make sure I'm not making major horrible mistakes. So I'm going to leave that one, and if any want to make comment on that, I'm going to leave it as that. Worst case scenario is I should advance it into that hex, but we'll leave it at that. So going back to finishing up the unit activation, the activation of this core. That reinforced battles away. Actually, I'll zoom out of that. Reinforced battles away. So we're still looking at the rest. We conducted attack. Remove eligible active units to the reserve units box. So that's under 9.6. Briefly, can I glance at it briefly? It says, in step 6 of general activation, check to see if any active units are removed from the map and placed in the reserve units box. A unit is eligible if all the following apply at the moment of the check. The unit did not move or attack in the current activation, right? I'm not going to read the rest of them just now. All these units moved and attacked, or moved and or attacked. So they're not going to go and do that. So the next part is only after the 20th you place IPA markers on eligible units. Remove dispersed markers from units in the active formation. Okay, and that's the last part. So that's the impulse over. So it's going to remain to be seen if this unit is in this hex or possibly this hex. So I'm going to have a look myself and hopefully get the video uploaded, and if anybody else wants to pipe in and say where he should be and confirm that, hopefully I'll be able to find it. If not in the rule book, I'll have a quick glance in the forums. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up, guys, because it's getting far too long. So I'll come back tomorrow with an allied impulse, hopefully, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, cheers.